Hey guys, welcome back to the Calibrate Tools and DIY channel. Today we're going to talk to Landon Charles of Hvac. He's going to tell us what it takes to run an HVAC company, how he got into the business, and how you can too. So stick around and I'll see you right after this.
My name is Landon. I'm the CEO and founder of Hvac right here in Southern California. If you like the information and you want to see more of what we're talking about here, hit that like and subscribe. There's going to be more to come.
How'd you get into the HVAC industry?
The HVAC space, I got into it, it was kind of random. I was responding to an ad on Craigslist. I was kind of working different jobs. It was solar sales at the time. And I kind of thought that solar was a bit of a fad at the time. You know, it was heavily saturated, and I just wanted to get into something else that was more fulfilling, and definitely didn't want to have to reinvent myself every so often. So I decided to choose HVAC because I knew one thing: it was always going to be in demand, and it's something that now that I've been in it for a while, that AI is not going to replace. It's easy. You're always going to need the technician. The reason why AI is not going to ever come into this space, you know, sure it can be, you know, for fulfillment or making your job a little bit easier, but the actual technician will never be replaced. I don't think there's ever going to be a robot that drives to your house, heads out back, identifies your problem and fixes it. So you're always going to need technicians that are in the field that are, that are going to be inclined to, fix any issues. For one. For two, if people would make a $20,000 decision by themselves without actually anyone having the opportunity to go through the different options and size the home properly, I just don't see people just going online and just making those types of large purchases by themselves. There's still the aspect of having someone come into the house, size the house properly, and actually understanding from a professional point of view, why would you go with this piece of equipment over that piece of equipment and what's going to work best for my scenario. So that's why I don't see it being completely replaced. You're always going to need technicians for repair, for maintenance, for sales.
You know, one of the best gifts you can give that special someone in your life, especially if they're a DIY tool lover like myself, is a household toolkit for those small jobs, or a picture hanging tool for the decorator in them. You can find all those over at Calibrate.com, including our newly added gift set tool bags and gift boxes with all the goodies in them. Head on over to Calibrate.com and grab yours today while supplies last. Links in the description.
I've been in the HVAC space for 9 years. October last month, we actually made 9 years in the field. I really like the heating and air conditioning space because it's a specialty. How many handymen do you know that can lay floors, that can do tile, that can, fix a bathroom, that can, do a little bit of electrical? Not too many of them can install your air conditioner. Not too many of them are licensed to, be able to purchase and carry refrigerants and balance systems out and understand the nuances of, a gas-fired furnace and how to actually, repair it properly. So I feel like it really is a specialty. I work with general contractors that do new construction, and with that, they're still calling, the HVAC guys out to, finish the heating and air conditioning, or even set it up for prep work. It's just a specialty within the crowd. I mean, it's like underwater welding. You can't just call a handyman to come in and take care of that oil rig down there. Sometimes you need a specialist in the craft to come out and make sure that everything's all right. The interesting thing about HVAC is that it encompasses so many different trades. I mean, to do one install, from scratch, if there's no existing system, you kind of have to tap into the electrical panel. You have to make sure the breakers are right, the wire gauge is correct. You got to pull electrical to the location. You have to, know how to work with sheet metal, do fabrication. You have to know how to, mount up, the equipment, build platforms for it, make sure it's earthquake strapped. So you might have to do framing, you might have to get in the attic, build a platform for, the furnace or something that's gonna sit up there. There's quite a bit that goes into it, just for those things, we've already touched on, light framing, electrical, And then you actually have to braze. You know, we use high heat torches, which is a mix of oxygen and acetylene. So using those high heat torches, we're doing a lot of brazing of the copper. And then we actually have to set the refrigerant in place and charge the system and balance it all out, you know, once it's actually installed. So it encompasses a lot of things. And I think that's why, you know, like I mentioned earlier, there's certain things that kind of require a specialist, because the tools themselves that you need in order to do a full HVAC install, your average homeowner's not going to just have offhand. You know, it's something where, you know, and if they do, you know, have, you know, a set of torches, a vacuum pump, you know, some electrical line and knowledge of, you know, tapping in their electrical panel, then they're going to be a pretty handy individual. But most people aren't like that. They want somebody that's going to come out and get it done right. But by encompassing all those things, I think that's just one of the nuances that makes it more of a specialty class of construction, if you will, as opposed to just, you know, a general or a framer or a simple electrician. They do great things. They're great at what they do. You know, am I going to try to change out an entire electrical panel? No, it's not what I'm here for. But if I have to, you know, tap in, change breakers, you know, pull wire, you know, we can do that too.
And that's what kind of, when I looked at that trade specifically, I was attracted to it because of its, you know, it kind of being a smorgasbord, for lack of a better word, of all the different trades. I like not just being pigeonholed in one trade. That's why my channel, I talk about all kinds of trades, all kinds of tools.
Sure.
I didn't just want to be a drywall channel or a, you know, plumbing channel. I wanted to expose the world to everything that's out there.
Got it.
I like the variety of the trades, and that's how I approach this channel. So I get with you guys like you, man. All right.
So by interviewing guys like me, and by, you know, having so many different specialties within, you know, the HVAC trade, you can imagine what kind of installers that we have. These guys are badasses. If you can install heating and air conditioning system, you can do it day in and day out, and you deal with you know, the cuts of sheet metal. You deal with, you know, the knee pain or back pain if you do it for an extended period of time. I mean, you got to be tough. So when you take a step back and you look at all that goes into, you know, performing tasks on the residential side, then you realize that it's a lot. And how long can you perform and do that for? A lot of guys will usually find themselves transitioning into service. So think of it as, you know, A and B. You know, you've got service and you've got, you know, installation. So when you get into the service side, that's where you get into more of the troubleshooting and repair. You know, understanding, you know, how the circuit boards work, and, you know, trying to find some low voltage issues or problems, or just fine tune what someone already has because it's, you know, it's working great. It just needs service. So now you have to kind of break it down and clean it, and, you know, that's more or less what you would do on the service side.
Okay, so the service side is not as labor intensive as the installation side?
Correct. Correct.
Because you did mention repairs and stuff like that. I would just, you know, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, hauling something down stairs or out of the attic that you may have to repair, so that's kind of labor intensive. But you're saying that it's not as labor intensive because you're not actually installing and putting stuff together. But there is labor involved.
Don't get me wrong. There's absolutely labor involved on the service side as well. But when you compare, you know, pulling a blower motor and changing a fan motor and then, you know, taking that back up and putting it in, compared to a full installation of a system
from scratch,
from scratch, or even a replacement standpoint,
okay.
You're going to more or less find out that the service side is not nearly as labor intensive as the install side. But don't get me wrong, there's still work that goes into it, which is really one of the reasons why I love the craft. You know, from a young age, you know, I was able to pick up power tools and build things. You know, when, you know, I moved out of LA to the Inland Empire, skateboarding was a thing. You know, when I was in, you know, middle school, high school, you know, before right around time, you know, right before we got into, you know, to girls, shoes, ball, and, you know, things like that. You know, we were skateboarding as kids. So, you know, we would actually build our own ramps And now that I think back, these are pretty extravagant ramps that we were building from a young age. We were using power tools. We had 4-foot high launch ramps. We had a 3.5-foot high pyramid, which was like 9 sections that actually slid together and made the shape of a pyramid with the handrail going down it. So we built all this stuff in the summer. So that's where a lot of our idle time was. And I think back, like, these are pretty extravagant things we're building and we're kids, middle school. So I've always had a appreciation for tools and being able to, create. So I think, by being on the HVAC side, and doing things service-wise, you're able to go in and find out what the problems are. I like troubleshooting. I like being able to kind of, figure out the issue. And then at the same time, it's rewarding giving somebody else a little bit of relief. If they're in their house with their family and they're sweating, they're sticking to their leather couch, you know what I mean? It's 85 degrees, 90 degrees outside, it's 80 degrees in the house, it gets uncomfortable. So you're the one that comes in and saves the day most of the time.
Could even possibly save lives. I mean, a lot of people die of heat, heat exposure, and elderly people die all the time of, heat exhaustion and all that stuff. So you're kind of, doing a great service in the HVAC field.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. More importantly, people, elderly, they can get cold easy. You walk into a space, you think 85 is really, really, warm. It may be really comfortable for them, right? So if a space is, 85 degrees, they're nice and toasty. That heater could be just as important, because if it drops to 65 and the heater's out, that could be like, frigid to someone that's a little bit elderly or even has some other, arthritis or other health complications. If you think about this, when a house is sold in the state of California, air conditioning is a luxury, heat is a necessity.
Heat is a necessity.
Heat is a necessity. A house must have a working furnace or a working heater when it's sold.
Interesting. Schooling. Let's talk about schooling. What kind of schooling did you have to go to? HVAC school or something? Let's talk more about that.
Sure.
As far as the educational route, you've gone with a big company, and that's how you elevated in the HVAC world, right?
Yeah. Well, there's different ways you can actually go about schooling when it comes to getting into this industry. So one way would be you actually go to a trade school for it. So you can go to Wildtech, or you can go to a college and then transfer to a actual technical college, and there's different avenues, right? If you're going to be a union pipe fitter and you're going to work in commercial, you're going to want to absolutely go to a technical school and study that. Whereas you also have on-the-job training. In the residential sector, you run into quite a bit more people that have more on-the-job training, and they learn from journeymen. You do this for 4 years, you do it at a highly efficient level, you're kind of considered a journeyman at that point if you do pretty much all the tasks without any supervision. So when you look at the different options, with that in mind, you can oftentimes go into a company without any experience, and you could get hired on. And some of the larger companies will even have a training facility where they'll welcome guys. They would appreciate guys to come into their fold that don't have any experience, because they don't have any bad habits. They can kind of teach them exactly the way that they want the program to be ran. And that would be one of the best ways for somebody that's new, that's not really, into school, you don't have the means to be able to, go to school for it. I would look for a larger company and, one that has on-the-job training, and you could absolutely, begin with them. And that's, believe it or not, the route that I chose. I started with a larger company, probably one of the largest, most well-known companies here in Southern California. Went through the ranks pretty fast, stayed with them for about 4 or 5 years. And after that, I kind of transitioned out to a different company. So it was a great experience. I can look back and see that it was a great company. They always did the right thing. But when you have the most elite salespeople at the top of that organization. And after a while, you get tired of merchandising and you want to sell yourself, because that's where more of the income is actually made in this industry. Then you're competing with some of the best in the country. No exaggeration, probably 3 or 4 of the guys were probably in the top 10 sales guys in the entire country. And they all work for the same company. And a lot of them I can still call friends. So when you're dealing with that kind of competition, there's only so much room at the top. And oftentimes, after you understand the industry, guys will start to kind of branch out and kind of do their own thing, or work for other companies where there may be other opportunities where they can go and be comfort advisors or sales advisors themselves.
So when you transitioned, was it crowded at the top, so to speak?
For me, it was. I mean, now, I may have been looking at this from, with blinders on, because I was making probably around $100,000 as a service technician, and I'm wanting that top spot where we can make more. But for me, my background is in sales, so I felt that I would be able to perform and compete at that level with some of these guys. So, when I wasn't able, and I just kind of had to, wait for a vacancy, and, who's leaving some of these positions, and you just don't see it happening, you just don't see it happening. So you have to kind of go seek it out. Yeah. And then other companies will kind of try to, pull you in, they'll try to reel you in with, sign-on bonuses and all kinds of things. But when they see your talent, they definitely want them on the team. They want, we want to continue to grow.
Right. So would you say that, and I want you to kind of elaborate on your background in sales, but I would assume that the average service tech does not have a background in sales, so you kind of had a leg up, at, or something that would help you when you branched out on your own. I mean, let's face it, sales at the end of the day is the foundation of any business. Mm-hmm. So talk about your background in sales and how that helped you transition into where you are today.
Sure. I have more of an entrepreneurial background where, I've done quite a bit of things. When I came out of high school, I put myself through college, and I was in the mortgage finance realm, so real estate. So I did mortgage finance for almost 8 years. That took me all over the place. I mean, there was a boom happening, back when I was graduating high school, which would have been 2003. So I was working, in West Covina at a mortgage bank. I worked at a mortgage brokerage. I ended up moving to Las Vegas, opening my own mortgage brokerage with a family member. So that was kind of the foundation for me of sales. I dropped out of college, decided to, do this full time. And I did it for years. I've had a fantastic life doing it. I was buying property, and ended up going into high-end auto leasing at a certain point. But like most that weren't ready, I got the wind taken out of my sails when the mortgage bubble happened in 2008. I had bought at the peak. I mean, I had just closed on a property in November 2006. I think I was 22 years old, and I have this amazing place, strip views of Las Vegas, and 3-car attached garage. I mean, just a beautiful house. It was a townhouse, actually, a brand new community in a booming part of town. And when that happened, it was an eye opener for me, because I'm young, and I'd been moving up, and hadn't felt defeat. To that point, I was untouchable, right? Everything I touched turned to gold, right? I'm doing great from a financial standpoint. And when that happened, it was definitely an eye opener. So then, you kind of have to reinvent yourself, if you will. So I got into still in real estate, but I started doing more loan modifications and helping people with short sales and things of that nature. So did that for several more years until I just kind of, got burnt out on real estate as a whole. So then I ended up going to work for a company called Cox Communications. And I was highly overpaid for selling Showtime, Cinemax, HBO, and DVR service for people that were setting up cable or moving their services to another house within Las Vegas. So I did that for years and absolutely loved it, man. all the people from the different series would come in. They would stop by and talk to the guys who were actually selling the networks. And I've got pictures of people that from all different types of series when they would stop in the locations, and it was great, man. I did that for years, and that was phenomenal. So again, I found myself in the inbound sales department at Cox, and that was right after the mortgage side of things. So then I got into telecommunications, and then from there I ended up going into business for myself. I decided to purchase a franchise, and decided to grow. And this was a accounting and tax preparation franchise, and we worked and had about 27 or so people in my location, running on shifts. So it was a great time. It was a great time until the owner of that business decided he wanted to do some unscrupulous things that weren't exactly legal. Wasn't okay with it. We actually ended up having a little bit of a rift, and that was kind of the end of that. But I wasn't willing to sell my own people out. I wasn't willing to take friends and family and do illegal things with their taxes. It wasn't in my character. If we're gonna make money, let's just make money, but let's keep it above board, because one thing we don't want to do is go to federal prison. So if that's what inspires you, then you're on your own. You do your own thing. Otherwise, you could have I guess moved drugs and made a bunch of money if you're going to take those kind of risks. But for tax preparation, I don't see the point.
Right. So
not saying you should go do that, but I'm just saying it's a risk versus reward type of thing at the end of the day. So all different things I did in my background, but there was kind of a sales undertone with almost all of them. When it comes to problem solving, and that being a major part of your job, for me it's rewarding. There's never a dull moment. It's not like going into an office, sitting at your same cubicle, turning the computer on, picking up the phone, answering the phone, and doing the same mundane tasks. Like if you look at call center work, man, there's 100 things I'd probably rather do than work in a call center, right? Or work as a service guy at a bank, or what I mean. I'm not knocking those positions, but you have a certain personality type that can do very repetitive things over and over and over. When you look at going out and servicing equipment, you have no idea what you're going to run into. The only thing you know is that you got a truck that's paid for, you got a company cell phone, you're in uniform, and this is the address you have to go to next. Go fix it. What's wrong? Who knows? Go figure it out. So when you show up, there's kind of an aura of hey, you're that guy that's here to fix it. You got the answers. I don't know what's wrong with it. All I know is my thermostat doesn't work no more. What's happening behind the scenes? That's what you're here for. Right. So then you take your time and you diagnose. And a lot of people don't realize that there's as much skill actually talking to the customer as there is dealing with the equipment. Because guess what? Once you speak to the customer, you can, understand, what they're about. You can understand, if they're really happy with the system. You understand if they have allergies. You understand a little bit more about them, because that's where the money's made, is building a connection with the client and understanding what they like or what they don't like about the system. So as you're there to fix it, hopefully you can fix some of the other problems that they have with the system too. And just kind of roll it into one nice package and then present some options to them and let them know, look, here's a bone, here's one with meat on it. Which one do you want? And a lot of times they may go above and beyond the basic, very minimum repair, and they may, do some enhancements to their systems to make it perform better, to get rid of the allergies, to, cleanse the air quality, to, get rid of those, those streaks that are coming off the registers, all over the house because the ducts aren't sealed on the other side, or get the asbestos ducts taken out and reduct the house. So now the air conditioner, the exact same air conditioner, works as designed, not, the way it's been struggling since it was installed improperly. And I would say more than half of the systems I run into are installed improperly. So there's a lot of troubleshooting to fix an immediate problem, there's a ton of opportunity into allowing this equipment to work better as designed and even, you know, improve it. Everyone wants it to last longer, cost them less money, and work better if at all possible. So when you kind of roll that all into one package and you present options to someone, you'd be surprised how many people will spend a few dollars with you if you slow down, explain the different options to them, and show them that there's a potential issue here. But the nice thing is, you know, we've got some solutions to fix that if you're interested. And you'd be surprised how many people actually will spend a few dollars with you. So from a service guy, it's, you know, you go out and take care of the repair, or you can make a little bit more money with, I guess you could call it upselling.
Upselling. Yeah. Absolutely. That's the art of cultivating repeat business.
Absolutely.
That's an art.
And to expand on the fact that that's an art to cultivate business, you have something called maintenance agreements, where if you can get somebody to sign a maintenance agreement with you, that's a very, very low barrier of entry. But guess what? You're not going to see them twice a year. So if they don't fix it this time, they'll probably fix it the next time. And the most successful take a client off the market before they ever come on the market. Meaning you don't necessarily have to wait till this thing breaks down and fails you before you decide you want to upgrade it. You know, how much does your energy bill spike every summer? Oh, wow, look at that. It shoots up $250 more in your summer months, $300 more in the summer months, $500 more in the summer months. When are you gonna take this old dog out back and shoot it in the head and just go ahead and get a new one? Because the new one is gonna save you a ton of money on bills. You're gonna have all your warranties in place, right? It's gonna be more comfortable in your home. It's not gonna be as noisy. You know, you're not gonna have to crank the TV up every time the thing fires up and starts running. You know, enjoy it. You know, don't wait till you're ready to sell the house and then, you know, the new owners are forcing you to put a new one in. You don't even get a chance to enjoy it. You might as well put it in now, improve the value of your house, enjoy the system, right? Have better air quality, have lower utility bills, right? And enjoy the HVAC system that you know you deserve to have. When it comes to the pay in this industry is endless, because there's millions and millions and millions of homes here in California, and I would say 40% of them have air conditioners that are going to die in the next couple of years. So that's a lot of opportunity for someone. And what I've noticed is a lot of the older guys that are in this business are getting out, they're retiring. So we need a new wave of guys that are coming into the trades. We're short staffed, we're underhanded right now. So when it comes to the pay of a potential HVAC, what can you make? How much is out there? Well, it really boils down to how good are you at finding problems and how good are you at presenting solutions to those problems. Because so many houses have issues. This bedroom never cools off. This is always the hottest area in the house, right? My dog keeps clogging the filters in this thing. It never works right. There's a funny smell coming out of the vents, right? There's all these problems that happen with the HVAC system. But a lot of times there's problems and the client never knows about it until it breaks. So when you're there, if you have an opportunity to do a routine maintenance, but you can provide some solutions before the problem ever arises, there's a great opportunity for you to be able to do good things. The more you practice your craft, the better at it you become, right? You have to understand what's out there, right? There's a huge shift in technology. It's almost a paradigm shift with the inverter technology, right? Air conditioners aren't gigantic and square like they used to be. You know, there's so many different options now. They're slim, they're side discharge, they run on this inverter technology. You know, now you have an entire market that just opened up. We just installed a 5-head mini split on a property this week in Los Angeles that would have never been able to get traditional air conditioning because the electrical panel of this place wouldn't support it. You can't go split system. You can't go package unit because of the way it's set up. But we could actually put a couple inverter systems. We could put heads all over the place. So now we can heat and cool the entire space. We're running on a 50 amp panel. You don't have to have it upgraded to the 100 and 200. Absolutely, it's better, 100%. but it's not a necessity for your system to work now. So here's a client who never thought she was able to get central heating and air without actually, upgrading everything. And we were able to do that for her. So because I was able to solve that problem, I was able to get paid handsomely for it, right? So starting out, I would say my first year in this business, I probably did about $68,000. That was including the 10-week training course I had to go through before getting into the field. So that was my first year in the business. The next one's probably closer to 80, and I never looked back. It's just been, onward and upward since then. So it's extremely rewarding. Now, in the beginning, it was long hours. There was a learning curve. I'm working on holidays. I'm not gonna tell you just the best part about it. I'll tell you some of the struggles too. The long hours. The long drives. You being 10 minutes away from home, you get that last call, and it's an hour against traffic. So there's some not so good parts about the industry, but when you look at it as a whole, it's a fantastic industry, especially to begin. You can make great money, and to me, it's always going to be in demand. And you're going to be able to take that trade with you anywhere. So coming up in this space, there were a few, driving forces, for me to, work with my hands. One, my grandfather, he plays a big role in a lot that I do, because he's probably one of the hardest working guys that I know. Never complained. As far as I know, never even had a headache. But just one of those tough guys who just always was moving forward. He was always up on time. He was always out the door. He was always making it happen. I mean, he retired from the county and still worked for himself for another 30 years. So he was just one of those guys you couldn't break. And one thing I thought about was, when I've done, all this work in business and in financial services, he sees me, coming in after a long day, and I've been in the HVAC industry for probably about 3 years at this time, and I talked to him. He said, "Hey, what are you up to? What are you up to, grandson?" And I said, "Hey, well, yeah, I'm into this heating and air conditioning." He said, "Oh, you finally got yourself a real job." So certain people understand the value of being in demand. My father's a refrigeration guy, commercial refrigeration. So certain people understand that this business isn't going anywhere. If anything, it just needs new lifeblood in it, and people are always going to, want to be comfortable in their own space, in their own environment. So he's a driving force behind, what I do and why I do it, and probably one of the reasons why, I'm good with my hands now. If you're interested in this opportunity, I would definitely encourage you to reach out. You can reach out to hexhvac.com. You can dial us on our main line, 562-568-8400. There's a lot of opportunity, for a prosperous career in the HVAC space, and we're hiring. So we'd love to have more more talent come into the trades, and we're gonna make the trade sexy again. There's a handful of us out there that are doing great things or making great money. This isn't your your granddad's plumbing shop. And a lot of people look down on plumbers, and they're some of the most highest paid craftsmen that are out there. But again, it's the ones that are willing to go out there, find problems, and offer solutions to solve them that are making money, not the order takers that are just out there turning wrenches. And that's the difference between something like HVAC, where you can feel good about yourself and you can go out there, offer a ton of solutions, and really make a difference, transform someone's home, and really stand behind the product and the service that you're offering. It's a fantastic career, and I definitely want to speak to you. I think the beautiful thing about this industry, is just all the things that you're able to do. I think back, prior to HVAC, I was doing pretty well for myself. I look at my life now, it's just completely different. It's trusts and LLCs and nonprofits and property, investment property. I wouldn't be able to do a lot of those things without the income and the flexibility of this kind of work. So I'm definitely grateful for the opportunity that I was given in the industry, and honestly, I'd like to be able to pay it forward. If you're a hard worker and somebody that wants to learn, those are some of the guys that I'd like to meet and connect with.
You heard it, guys. Hex HVAC. Don't forget to reach out. A lot of opportunity there. Thanks for coming, man. Appreciate you.
Got it. Thank you.